We're all pretty blown away by how confident AI can sound, right? It's impressive. But what if that's the wrong thing to be looking for? Today, we're digging into a system called SYRAG, which is built on a really radical idea. What if AI's real job isn't to act certain, but to prove what's real? So let's dive in. This quote, this right here, really gets to the heart of it all. Think about the AI you use every day. It's designed to give you a smooth, confident-sounding answer and fast. But what if that confidence is just a performance? What if, instead of just a slick answer, a system could actually show you the verifiable, traceable proof behind it? That's the huge shift in thinking we're unpacking today. All right, so let's take a step back and look at the whole AI landscape right now. The public conversation, all the hype, it's all about speed, how fluent it sounds, the spectacle of it all. But the second you move from a cool public demo into a real-world business, the questions that keep leaders up at night are completely different. And this slide really lays it all out, doesn't it? It's like two parallel universes for AI. On one side, you've got the public hype machine, speed, slick language, wow factor. But on the other side, you have the brutal operational reality. Where did this information actually come from? Who's accountable if it's wrong? Can we prove any of this? This gap right here, this is where so many corporate AI projects just completely fall apart. And that leads us straight to the central problem. For all their impressive language, most AI outputs are, when you get right down to it, fundamentally fragile. The moment they face any real pressure, like a legal review, a compliance audit, or a regulatory question, they just crumble. Just imagine you're a leader in a heavily regulated field, like finance or healthcare. An AI gives you a critical piece of analysis. Your very first question, the one that a standard AI has absolutely no way of answering, is this one. Where did this come from? And right on the heels of that comes the next one. Okay, which specific verified sources are backing this up? Are we talking about our own internal audited company documents, or did the model just scrape this from some random corner of the internet? Then, of course, there's the human layer, the governance. Has a real person, an expert, actually reviewed this thing? Is there a documented approval chain showing that someone signed off on it? And what about 6 months from now, or a year? If regulators show up asking questions, can we actually reconstruct this entire decision? Is there a trail? Can it stand up to a formal audit? Which brings us to the final, and maybe the most critical question of them all. When this system makes a recommendation or a decision that goes out into the world, who is ultimately on the hook? Who carries the responsibility? And here is the absolute key takeaway. AI projects often fail, not because the model itself is bad, but because the architecture built around it is weak. It's simple, really. If you can't prove where an answer came from, who signed off on it, and how to audit it later, then even the most intelligent AI result is basically worthless in any serious organizational context. So, after all that, this is where SYRAG steps onto the stage. It was designed from the ground up to have a rock-solid answer for every single one of those tough questions we just asked. So what exactly is it? Well, think of SYRAG less like another AI app and more like a secure operational vault for AI. Inside this system, an output from an AI isn't just a blob of text. No, it's an actual artifact that is permanently and verifiably connected to the evidence that supports it, the human experts who approved it, and a formal, unbreakable record of its certification. And this is probably the most important point of this whole explainer. We're not talking about a slightly better algorithm or a slicker user interface. This is a foundational shift. The focus moves away from just the power of the algorithm to the integrity of the architecture. It's about the architecture of trust. Okay, so that's the big idea, but how does it actually work? How does SYRAG manage to build this trust and verifiability right into its DNA? It all comes down to what the source calls 3 pillars of trust. First, you have certification, which basically means every single AI output gets formally tied to its evidence. Second is discipline, which makes sure a human being is always accountable for what the system releases. And third, anchoring, which ensures these records can be independently proven to be true even years down the road. So how do they pull this off? Well, it uses some really clever tech. For example, it uses open timestamps to create a permanent, publicly verifiable timestamp for any piece of data. It's kind of like a digital notary that can't be faked. And it uses something called the Interplanetary File System, or IPFS, to create a permanent, unchangeable link to that data. When you combine those two, you can prove not just what the data was, but exactly when it was certified. It's powerful stuff.
Now, that second pillar, operational discipline, it takes a term you might have heard, man in the loop, and it completely flips the meaning. In this system, it does not mean some poor human is sitting there manually controlling every little thing. Not at all. It means a specific human remains explicitly accountable for what the system is allowed to publish or certify. The AI does the heavy lifting, the analysis, the drafting, but the responsibility, that stays with a person.
And look, this isn't just a concept, it's a whole ecosystem of actual software. As you can see here, it ranges from these deep core verification tools all the way to the dashboards that users interact with. For instance, see that universal source tool under analysis? That's a tool that can take incredibly complex software code and translate it into plain English, so a non-technical manager can actually audit it. Every single piece is designed to work together to build that trusted environment. So when you put all these pieces together, you start to see that this isn't just about making small improvements to the AIs we already have. It's about demanding a fundamentally new kind of AI with a new kind of output. So what does all this really mean? It means we start asking for an AI that isn't just persuasive, but is truly verifiable.
We ask for an AI that isn't just productive, but is also accountable.
And finally, we start demanding an AI that isn't just fast, but is structurally trustworthy from the ground up.
When you have all of that, when your systems are verifiable, accountable, and trustworthy, the goal becomes so much bigger than just a better AI assistant. It becomes the foundation for what you could call a sovereign digital environment, a space where you have genuine control and provable ownership of your organization's most important knowledge. And that leaves us with one last really big question to chew on. In an age of deepfakes, misinformation, and digital illusions, what would change? What would our world look like if our most powerful tools were built not on a performance of truth, but on provable reality? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us.